Today, we are continuing with our series for the Bulloch County Historical Society of interviewing very prominent and very influential people that have changed our community for the best. Today, we have Helen Rosengart with us, and we are with her at Bethany, which is a lovely senior living home, and they're also a corporate member, which is absolutely fabulous. My interaction and friendship with Helen, I don't remember there not being, so I believe it began when I was very young. And Helen and Harvey and their family were our neighbors on Savannah Avenue. Helen's children are a little bit younger than me, but my mother taught piano, and she taught both the boys, Russell and Robert. They were both bright and brilliant and good pianists, and they were just precious young boys. So I'm very excited to get Helen on tape for us all to enjoy forever. Helen, how are you, dear?
Thank you for those kind words, Virginia.
Tell us when and where you were born.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
And in what year?
Well, I guess I have to check it. It was January 2nd, 1928. Oh, I know you've all done the arithmetic. I am 96.
Yes, and a beautiful 96, I shall add. Helen and my mother were the same age, and they're both lovely ladies from the Boulevard Girls. Tell me what year and why did you and Harvey move to Statesboro, Georgia? Of all places, this wonderful Jewish couple from Brooklyn moved to Statesboro, Georgia.
We came to Georgia because we felt that we had a good labor market, and we came to establish a sewing plant that would make children's dresses. And we had lots of applications, lots of people. However, none of these people had ever worked in a commercial plant before. So we actually had to train every single person. And after they made out an application, Harvey gave them a few pieces of material, and he said, just sew it. And this lady said, Mr. Harvey, I have been sewing for 30 years. I don't have to do that. And he said, sweetie, just do it, because I can't eliminate you, then not do it with the rest of the people. I think that's not fair. Okay, she said, that makes sense. Sits down at the machine and gets adjusted, puts the fabric down there, turns on the machine, and then becomes paralyzed. She used a foot pedal. She was so upset about that machine. That's what. It's ironic. It was harder to teach people like that than people who never saw it or touch. But we did it, and we worked about 6 or 7 months and just teaching how to sew. We practically trained everybody in that plant. And we got a line of clothes together, and we had a fabulous lady, Totsie Robinson, who was our sales lady for Georgia. So we got all these samples together, and she was so excited because she was going to Rich's. And if it was to Atlanta, you had to go to Rich's. That was the place. So one morning she gets up, she goes, and she comes back, doesn't call me. It's 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And I thought, oh my goodness, I wonder if she'd had an accident. So I called Totsie, and she said, I didn't have the courage to call you. I said, Totsie, what happened? Well, she said, I brought the samples in, the buyers were there, and Mr. David Rich came in, and he looked close, and he said, we don't make this in Georgia. We only do underwear and socks and denim pants. We can't do this in Georgia. This is not the right place. And he left. I'll tell you about the order, Kath. The order was 1 dozen dresses for each of the stores, 3 dozen pieces. And Totsie said, I was so upset. I just called to call you. Okay. So I'm sitting in my office a couple of days later, and the phone rings. And this man says, I have to talk to Helen Rosengart with this gruff voice. I said, oh, this is she. Well, Mrs. Rosengart, you made a fool of me today in your store. I said, really, what did I do? I came out at 10:30. The store opened at 9:30. And I said, where are those dresses from Statesboro? And the clerk said, we sold them all. And he said, couldn't possibly do that. Can't sell 12 pieces in an hour. They're in the stockroom, and you just didn't bring them out. He says, so I foolishly went the stockroom, and there weren't any there. And he says, tell Totsy to come see us again and come have lunch with me one day. He was an amazing man. He was a person who took retailing up to a different level. Certainly he was. We did not sell to Target. We did not sell to Walmart. We sold the Belks in Charlotte and Jacksonville, wherever there was a premium store.
So Carey Classics was very much a premium line.
Oh, yeah.
And so it went to the top tier of department stores at our time. You know, I'll never forget Rich's department store growing up and riding the pink pig at Christmas. It was a memory that I have that's lovely.
Garnets was so beautiful. In addition to the fact, if you turned it inside out, it wasn't a washing. And we had a marquisette petticoat for every dress that you could button in or take out. And that was unique. Nobody was doing anything like that.
Helen, who designed the clothes? Because there was definitely no one in Statesboro with that talent at that time. So you had to have some connections still in the city, didn't
we? Had a showroom in New York, Air Force Street, right across from Macy's. And we had a little Italian lady who was about 5 feet tall by the name of Pancari. And when we started to design the line, she said, Helen, what are we going to call this? I said, I don't have any idea. And she said, I hate to ask you this. Can you call it Carey Classics? Her name was Pancari, Pancari. That's one. That's with it.
Well, you know, all my life I've heard of Carey Classics in Portal, Georgia, that my neighbors, the Rosengarts, ran, that I never knew where the name.
By the way, we started in Statesboro in a small plant here, and we hired 80 people. And then as this expanded, it became a good brand name. We went to Portal, we hired 100 people there. So in total, we had 180 employees, wonderful ladies. We were like a family. It wasn't just like a business. I mean, everybody was so nice and cordial and friendly.
What year did you and Mr. Harvey open Carey Classics? In the 50s? Or
in the late 50s, it probably was, the very late 50s.
Very late 50s. So you were in your early 30s.
Yeah.
How old were you when you moved to Statesboro? 30s or
yeah, probably out there.
30s.
And we designed some of the things in Statesboro. I did a few, Harvey did a few, but for the most part, Mrs. Pancari did the whole thing. She was just wonderful.
Did she ever visit Statesboro?
Oh, yeah. She would come to the factory, and we had some very intricate designs that we had to do. We needed her ear, and we had a lot of embroidery on the dresses. And what we would do, whatever the embroidery was, we mailed those things to Puerto Rico. And those people did the embroidery and then mailed them back. And thank goodness none of those shipments were lost, because then we wouldn't have a part of a dress to put together.
That is unbelievable. No, so all that beautiful embroidery work was done in Puerto Rico.
We were very friendly with the lady there. She was so nice. She had just started her business, and she was so grateful. And they were beautiful, beautiful works of art of it. Bottom of it, wherever it was, it was just beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful. When you moved to Statesboro, I've heard stories of you visiting our local grocery stores for the first time. What did you find in these stores? And I guess the bigger question is, what didn't you find in our local grocery stores in the late 1950s?
Well, there was no grocery store at that. It came later. And the first place I went to was a mom and pop store. And the produce was just beautiful, the way it laid out, just gorgeous. And I said to the young man, "Where is your sliced American cheese?" And he looked at me. I could motion to me at the back of the store. There was this huge table, and there were cheeses that were about the size of this table. He whacked off a piece, and he put it in some foil, and he said, "Madam, this is sliced American cheese." I was hysterical laughing, and so was he. I mean, it was absolutely the most humorous thing it happened to me in years. And I said, "Well, I guess I'll have to come back." And Jim was a nice guy. We were very friendly. A lot of the girls, in the beginning of the girls would come to me and say, "Oh, Miss Helen, would you like some corn? Would you like some butter beans?" I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." I thought they were going to bring me a bag. They got a bushel. Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it.
So you learned how to shell butter beans.
Oh, I did. We have.
Did you, Adler?
Yeah, I mean, this was this huge thing.
Sure. I was lucky. In our neighborhood, we had the Seligmans. We had Henry Moses next door, and Miss Moses's mother, Miss Oppenheim. And down the street, we had the Rosengart. So, I grew up going to bar mitzvahs and didn't really think about it for a small southern town. So tell us, how did you and Harvey and these others form a Hebrew congregation, and where did y'all meet? Of course, we didn't have a synagogue. Tell us.
When we came to Statesboro, we knew that there was no synagogue here, but there were 3 of them in Savannah. And for the holidays, everybody went to Savannah. And when we first got here, we said, "This isn't going to work. We need to do something." So we called all these families. They came to my house, and we said, "If we have services on Friday night, every Friday, would you be willing to come?" Oh, yeah, everybody was all excited because of the children or whatever. So Harry came from a very religious family. And after school at 3 o'clock, he went to Hebrew school. He didn't go home. And he was so good at what he did. He had a beautiful singing voice. And he also could read Hebrew and do Hebrew conversational. He knew all the prayers. He knew the music that went with certain prayers. I mean, he was amazing. So we had services from then, which was the late 50s, until 2000 when he passed away.
Wow. Was this at your home on College Boulevard?
Oh, we started at my house, and there were some
College Boulevard?
Yeah, there were so many people that Georgia Southern gave us a loan. And then after that, we all decided, we're not going to do it this way. Everybody took a month. And I want to tell you this, when you had refreshments at some of these ladies, boy, did they know how to bake. I was ashamed. They would bake the most gorgeous cakes and strudel. Oh, it was just wonderful. And so everybody looked forward to services Friday because they had all this.
All this fabulous Jewish, there's nothing final. My mouth's watering as we're talking. A good Jewish cheesecake, there's nothing finer in the land.
They did strudel cheesecake, which was excellent. And I hate to admit this. I went to the grocery store and bought a few things.
Helen's telling us maybe she was not, of her many talents, perhaps cooking wasn't at the top of the list. Did you like to cook?
Oh, yeah.
You did? Good. Tell us, who were some of the other families? I've named the Seligmans and the Moseses and the Oppenheims. Who were some of the other?
Harlow and the Hamiltons.
The Hamiltons, circle.
And there was the Rosenbergs who had that store.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see who else. And Bernie Solomon and Paula came later. And Bernie was at Georgia Southern. Everybody loved it. He was sort of an eccentric person.
He was one of my father's best customers. And I have a wood block that Bernie did of Daddy he's in the drug department of the drugstore dispensing medicine to an old black man who has on overalls. It's one of my favorite possessions.
Bernie was awarded an award. They gave 3 or 4 awards to people who did woodcutting, and he was one of the 4.
Yeah, he was one of the best in the country.
I gotta tell you a story about Bird. Oh, the Mikovits.
Oh, yes, the Mikovits. How could we forget? And Miss Mikovit, Liz, was a Deloach, who's my cousin through the Franklins.
We were very good friends.
Yes, they were lovely. Ike and Liz and Harvey and Helen were some of the finest citizens Statesboro ever.
Nice, like
It's true. It's true.
But you know, it was amazing to me coming here. I mean, we were not identified as anything. And I have made some lifelong friends here.
Yeah,
that have been wonderful to me.
Yes. Well, you know, as you and I have always said, you are our Jewish neighbors. You were just the Rosengarts lived down the street with those beautiful boys. Those beautiful boys.
Well, they were both born here.
Yes. Yes. And Mother taught them both piano. She loved those little Rosengart boys. I remember they were so different, but both precious. But Russell had a head full of curls. Whitest, prettiest hair I've ever seen on a child. He looked just like a little cherub. Now, we're not going to go so far as to say Russell was a little cherub, but he looked like a little cherub. It was kind of rough. Yeah, he was precious. He was just precious.
The thing that amazed me was, as I say, we were never identified as anybody different. I mean, we were just here. And everybody accepted us in a way. And it was just a wonderful thing. It really was.
Well, you did so much for our community. Let's talk some about that. You know, in South Georgia, it's not in a very small town like Statesboro. The Catholic population and the Jewish population were not the predominants with us Baptists and Primitive Baptists and Presbyterians and Methodists and such. Tell us how you helped the Catholic congregation here in Statesboro.
My friend Barbara was Catholic. She lived down the street from me, maybe 2 houses away. And I went to the Catholic Church for funerals, for weddings. I mean, in Savannah. And, you know, I was very comfortable with that. Anyway, well, they brought 40 families from Pennsylvania. They were predominantly Catholic.
They sure were.
And so the manager of Rockwell called one of them.
That's when Rockwell came to Statesboro.
Exactly.
And many of y'all will remember the Edgewood Acres was developed by Patsy Rocker, Bobo's daddy. Mr. Alvin developed Edgewood Acres to house all these people that were coming from Pennsylvania to work at Rockwell. Go ahead, Helen. Tell us about it. I'd forgotten that most of them were, it was predominantly Catholic. That's yes.
I think this man, of course, was on the Chamber Board and Harvey knew them. And he called one night and he said, Helen, can my wife and I come and see you? I said, of course. Well, what in the world is this? And he said, we're trying to find some property to build a small church. And we can't find any. I said, there's tons of property here. Well, he said, I hate to tell you this, but every time we select one, the next day we're called and say, it's not for sale. I said, I can't believe that. He said, believe it. This has been going on for a couple of months. So, the next day, I called, I'm not going to tell you who it was.
Gotcha.
I called a relative group that I knew, and I said, you need to find some property for these people, and you need to do it today, okay? And he said, Helen, please. I said, don't do me, please, just go do it. They're very nice people. He did. He found that little piece of property that was in the intersection. They built the most beautiful church. It was wooden panels and pews that I think came from other places. Absolutely gorgeous.
It was a beautiful church.
But it was so tiny. But yeah, that was it.
Yes. Another neighbor right in our neighborhood was Ann Satt, who the Satt family, the Satt company we all know today. And Ann was probably the most devout Catholic that I've ever known in my life. She went to Mass every day and was good friends of you and Mom, even though she was probably 10 years older than y'all. She was just delightful. The Satts came here. They came from Augusta. Are there other things you'd like to share with us this afternoon?
Well, no, the Avery Center, that's my joy. I mean, I've acted all my life. When I was 10 years old, my teacher gave me the leading part in a play, and I got hooked. Got hooked at actor.
How about that?
And so when the Avery Center was remodeled, I played some little art because there are not many parts for old people.
Hush yourself.
And if you do get a part, it's about this big. So I thought, why am I wasting my time doing it? I'll just direct these things. I knew I had any training in directing, but I knew, being on stage all these years, I knew what to do. And first thing we did was a musical, Anything Goes. And then I did Oklahoma. And then I did Miracle on 34th Street. And then I did Patsy Cline and a few others in there. We sold them out from Thursday to Sunday.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what kept the Everett Center alive because that was good income.
Yeah, and those were wonderful plays. I wish they did more of those now.
And the last thing I did was that.
Yeah, how old were you? Tell us, how old were you when you directed Annie?
I don't know, maybe I was 70 or something. I can't remember. It was a good while. No, I had to be old.
Yes, I think you were a little older than that.
Yeah. Well, maybe I was in my 80s.
Maybe.
I really don't think about it as numbers.
Yes.
I don't know why.
She was in her 80s.
Yeah. But that was a fantastic show because this little girl from Brooklyn that played Annie, Shabba was amazing.
We do have wonderful local talent.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, there's a dog in Annie. And everybody said, oh, we have to go find a stuffed dog. I said, we're going to have a real dog. It took me about 3 or 4 months to find somebody who had a big lab and very sweet animal, about 12 years old. And I said, just bring her, you know. So she came to the first rehearsal, and Annie goes towards her to keep her from being caught by the dog catcher.
Right.
And this boy was just waiting. It's still just happy as can be. And so she grabs it, and she puts the leash on it, and she sings the leading song in that show, which is Tomorrow. And we had her sit at the end of the stage, and the dog was sitting next to her. And while she's singing Tomorrow, he's looking at her, licking her face, and just sat there through the whole thing. When the dog walked on stage, and it was a real dog, the audience loudly went, oh, that surprised me. I guess they thought we were going to have a stuffed dog because we were Statesboro. I said, no, we're not going to have a stuffed dog.
Not Helen Rosengart.
And this lady called me during the next week after the show was over, and she said, Ellen, the dog went to the door and wagged its tail because it wanted to go to rehearsal at the game.
That was how cute. Another thing I remember, tell us about the symphony deal. How did you start this, Helen?
Well, we went to the superintendent of schools and we said, there's not enough music in the schools. The only music we have here where I came was if you were in the band, you had that. Then when the football season was over, that was it. There was nothing of any artistic nature. And, well, we can't do that, Helen. It would just upset our schedule. I said, we only want a room at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, how would that? Well, that would just set my maintenance schedule. And Jimmy Tiller and I were the ones there. And they both laughed.
I wouldn't say no to either one of you.
But we laughed. And we said, it's more important to sweep up the floor than learn how to play the violin. Finally, we got it, brought it down. It started. And we had kids that came to, we had two things going. We had a violin group. Yes, we had a brass group. Right. And we went to all the schools at different times. And it was amazing. I said, have you kids ever seen anything like this? No. Would you like to see what a violin looks like? Sure. Well, they came down and touched the instruments, and they saw what they were, and the brass. And so I presume the teacher said, you have to write a thank you note. So the thank you notes were absolutely unbelievable.
The actual Symphony Guild, Helen, y'all started in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because I was in high school in the 70s, and that's when I remember being in the fashion show. The fashion show each year, Helen, remember it was Bulloch, and they donated all the clothes and everything, and I think it was some of your connections through Bulloch. It became a huge fundraiser.
So the thing that was so exciting was the fashion show. It sort of got everybody out, and we had a wonderful lunch and a dinner. And I said, Russell, wouldn't you like to model just some of the men's things? Oh, no, I couldn't do that. I said, yes, you can. I said, you're a celebrity. If we could sell more tickets, if you were in it. That clicked, and he said, okay. It was very good up there.
He sure was. He put on a show. I remember the one that I was in the Williams Center. Remember the Williams Center that had the bright colored windows that was down by the lake? And did we ever, I can't remember, Helen, if after the Williams Center, when the Russell Union, the Field and Russell building, did we have some in there? Yes. Yeah. So those are fond memories of growing up in Statesboro one day.
It was just so much fun to do this, And the only thing I really missed was the Avon Center. There it was. The Georgia Movie Theater was just a deteriorate every year. And a group of us tried to get it remodeled. Nobody wanted to pay any attention to it, and they didn't even want to give us a nickel to see if we could do it. However, our wonderful mayor, Mr. Avers, came. He turned the whole thing around.
Helen, you've always been what I consider a forerunner, a trendsetter, first lady to do. Tell us about you owning a radio station.
Well, when I first came here, I complained to Harvey every day because we turned the radio on. TV was not in existence then, and the radio was the thing that everybody listened to. So we turned it on in the morning, and I complained about it constantly, and he got so irritated with me. If you don't like that station, go get your own. It was a good idea. So don't tell Helen once. I wrote to Washington, and they sent me all this information. And before you could even do an application, you had to get 100 signatures. So,
well, you got those by lunch, didn't you?
Oh, it took a while to get 100, but we got it. And we got some property, hired an engineer to do all the studying, and listed our format. And I was just so excited about it. It just seemed good. The FCC was very cautious about giving out radio stations because they didn't want too many in an area, and the TV was not an option. Nobody had it. So I get a call from our Washington attorney, and he says, Helen, I don't have good news for you. I said, really? He said, somebody else has applied for PTB, wonderful place to be, and they've got everything, got all the papers. So how could they do that? Well, that's public domain. if you have an idea and you need to look at some of that in any other place, you can come and get copies of it. I was just shocked. So they had copies of our engineer, a format, the whole works. Okay. So we went to Washington. We had a trial. No jury, but we had a federal judge. And our dear friend, Joe Revel, represented us. And Charles Brown represented the other group. And boy, did they grill me on that stand for about an hour. I'm not going to go into details. It was ugly. It was not good. And so after we had all this done, the judge reprimanded everybody, thanks everybody, and we got the station.
Wonderful. You do know that Joe Neville's farm, this was the Neville farm where we're standing right now.
No, I didn't understand.
It was. Yes, it was. So the Nevilles were wonderful people.
Oh, Joe Statesboro a death. It's the only fence. And he was so bright, so smart.
Well, that's why he liked me, because you're bright too.
He wouldn't take any payment. I didn't hire him. He just did it.
How lovely. That's what friends are for.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The owners of the stations that came up from Savannah came to see what we did there, and they were very impressed. And I said, why are you here? Well, we just wanted to see what you were doing. And I said, well, I'll have to come to your station and see what you're doing. But the station was very good. We really made a good living out of it. And we had disc jockeys from Statesboro and other places that came. It was 24 hours. There was a live person on it all the time. And it was different. We did very well with it. And I enjoyed doing it. I did a little program of community things, and we had all the news, and it was really a really upgraded thing. And I thoroughly enjoyed doing it because it was like theater. You know, that's what it was.
This has been absolutely wonderful, sharing with a lifelong friend. Literally, I've known Helen Rosengart for 65 years, and all the things you've done for our community, we're forever grateful. Thank you.